What exactly is this car? Well, it's a Mercedes E53 AMG. So not an E63, but an E53. But where does it sit in the AMG lineup? I mean, with a price tag of over £40,000 used, is it a proper AMG, or is it just an AMG Lite? Well, today we are going to find out, because my name's Tom and you are watching Paragon Cars. Oh, and we're going to do a bunch of 0 to 60s, 30 to 70s, and test the MPG of this supposedly more efficient hybrid. So, let's go. So, what's under the bonnet of this AMG? Let's have a look. Well, upon inspection, we have the M256 inline 6-cylinder engine with 435 horsepower and 520 newton meters of torque. Kind of AMG figures, but not that impressive. But aha, it has a secret trick up its sleeve. And that is an electric motor mounted between the gearbox and the engine. It provides a further 22 horsepower, which doesn't sound like much, but obviously it's electric, so a further 250 newton meters of torque. So let's see just how AMG this AMG is. Is it going to be anywhere near an E63S? Well, personally I don't think so, but let's do the 30 to 70 and see what happens. So, I mean, that's a fundamentally fast time. We managed 3.76 seconds, which, you know, this thing's got over 400 horsepower, so it might not seem that fast compared to cars like the Audi RS3, but remember, this is a big saloon car at the end of the day, and fundamentally, 3.76 seconds is easily fast enough for a daily driver. Okay then, the interior of the facelifted AMG Mercedes E-Class. To be honest, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Whilst the screens are absolutely lovely, and the carbon fibre looks pretty cool, although it's a little bit creaky in some places. The problem I have with the interior of this car is, you guessed it, the steering wheel, the thing that you touch every single time you drive the car. It's just these buttons. They're just really irritating to use. Yes, you can get used to them. Yes, you can use voice controls. But having physical, non-touch sensitive buttons is just better. It is just better. Once you've driven a car with physical buttons, you realise that this is just the wrong way. So Mercedes, please give us some nice looking, but very physical buttons. Having said that, the rest of the interior is rather nice. Leather quality is lovely in this AMG. You get upgraded leather in the AMG models, and legroom in the back is lovely. And so is headroom. Plus, one really underrated interior feature is this little air vent here. Now, I don't know about you, but only having something down here that kind of just points at your knee isn't really ideal, especially when you've got your own climate controls. So having something there that can actually blow at your face when it's a hot or a cold day is really nice. Then we come to the boot. Being an E-Class, it's obviously very large. You get over 500 litres of space with the seats up. There's a little shopping basket under there as well as some extra like hidden storage, which is nice. And then to fold the seats down, you have these little handles here, which are good and bad. Mainly because, did you just notice, I released the seat and they haven't folded down themselves. So you kind of have to go cave diving and push the seats down yourself. But once you have done that, you get a nice flat load floor, and it is a very practical car for a saloon. But how does it drive? Is the E53 really worth the money? I mean, you can get an E63S, admittedly a couple of years older, it won't be a facelift car, for the same price. And that's got a V8, which to me at least, might be worth it. But anyway, let's get behind the wheel of this thing and see how she does. So first things first, the E-Class chassis, especially the E53 and E63 and E63S, it's just a wonderful chassis. The adaptive suspension, the steering, everything feels really tight, really solid, and really AMG. And this feels no different to the E63 in that regard, which is a very good start. Going over speed bumps, it's nice and comfortable, obviously in comfort mode. In sports mode, it's stiff, but it's still pretty good for a UK road. It's not over the top. So it just kind of feels like a regular car. And the one thing that's really good about the E53 is obviously that mild hybrid system. Now, because it's not plug-in, you don't have to think about it. It just makes the powertrain smoother in everything that it does. So like coming up to a junction here now, I can demo that. So you come to a stop, and in modern cars it'll turn the engine off, whereas here, literally as soon as you touch the throttle, the engine's running. It's just a much smoother, more pleasant experience, and it makes it feel super duper premium. And we've still got physical buttons for most things, at least. The one thing I'm annoyed at is they got rid of the control wheel for this like haptic feedback trackpad, which is a bit of a step backwards in my books. But I do think, so fundamentally this could be better, the steering wheel, but having two controls, one for this screen, one for that screen on this side, does actually make sense, and you can kind of get used to it. And I have noticed that I'm not having to take my eyes too far away from the road when I'm using the controls on the steering wheel, which is really nice actually. Now then, in terms of MPG, this is supposed to do 32 miles per gallon. Currently we're doing 12 because obviously I was having some fun. But I'm going to reset it. We're going to get on the motorway in a minute, and we're going to see if this thing is even going to get close to its combined figure. Now what's interesting, right, is that the E63S has cylinder deactivation technology, which means it can deactivate 4 of its cylinders on one side of the bank and actually do 32 miles per gallon. So that's like the same figure that this is doing. So, you know, why go for this car? Well, obviously it's a little bit cheaper than an E63. You're looking at about 10 to 15 grand if you were to get one that's exactly the same year, same mileage, same specification. But the thing is, you're probably going to go just for a slightly older car because you really want the V8. I could be wrong though. We might get on a B road later and this thing could be an absolute weapon. I just don't know. So actually, I think we should find that out first. So let's have a little taste of the handling before we do a proper handling test later. Take this thing round a roundabout, get the traction off, and see what happens. Okay then, Sports Plus, exhaust on, manual mode, traction off. That's exactly what we want in an AMG, isn't it? So we get heavier steering, stiffer suspension, a slackened off, more intelligent all-wheel drive system, and a more responsive throttle, which is exactly what I like. Going round roundabouts then, so just plant your foot, and it feels kind of rear wheel driven, and actually there's a little bit of noise. Ooh. And bloody hell, it's really fast. Like genuinely fast. Some nice pops and bangs from the exhaust actually. Woo! Sounds very AMG to me. Now unfortunately the headlights are slightly misaligned, so the car keeps coming up with a message saying to check them. I don't know what it is with Mercedes, but for some reason when you get some kind of like minor issue, you like literally it just needs a screw going like that. It just comes up with a message continuously. You'd think it would just be like a little thing on the dash, but it's like, no, it's just going to keep telling me throughout the entire review now. Mercedes, why? But yes, this thing sounds lovely. These chunky paddles are, well, chunky. Steering wheel is about the right thickness. Preferably, I would prefer something a little bit skinnier. But the feel is there. It feels rear-wheel driven. And it's very quick and sounds very AMG-like to me, I must say. Now we are going to drive this thing through a tunnel later, so we'll see if it's really nice, or see if it's just fake noise coming into the cabin. But first, let's see what MPG this thing does. Alright then, coming onto the motorway, so I'm just in comfort mode now. Let's see how this gearbox and hybrid powertrain responds. Plant your foot. Bit laggy to downshift, but once you're moving, it's pretty fast. Yeah. I think it would be better if it downshifted to like third instead of second there. Because by the time I'm actually moving, if I'd just downshifted to third, I think it would have been like almost half a second quicker getting to 70. Then once you're on the motorway, this 9-speed transmission is pretty gorgeous, if I'm honest. Like, you literally just get your cruise control on, 70 miles an hour, and you sit at 1600 RPM. And obviously, you're in an E-Class, right? So it's just a comfortable car. There is a little bit more road noise than the standard E-Class, but that's to be expected because you've got stuff connecting to the car more from the wheels because it's an AMG, it's got to handle well. But the car doesn't tramline, stays nice and straight, and in all honesty, you can't fault it really. So comfortable. So, like, we managed 27.2 miles per gallon, which it's near as no different to a Mercedes E63S, to be honest. So it's quite clear to me that this hybrid powertrain is purely there just to make this thing slightly faster and more torquey. And talking about torque, this thing is really nice actually. So on the motorway, it's never down changing a gear. So you're always in 9th gear, but you can see this little power meter down here is telling you when you're using that little boost. So literally if you just tickle the throttle, notice it's not down changing, but it's giving me enough torque that I'm accelerating quickly, which is a very nice thing indeed. So MPG wise, not much better, but smoothness is very good. Right, full attack mode as usual, and first off, one thing I like with Mercs is this traffic light camera, because sometimes you can't see the traffic light there, but there's one kind of up there that you can't really see because the mirror's in the way, and that is actually a pretty cool feature. So, well done Mercedes. But anyway, first things first, can we hit 60 before the corner? Let's go. Oh yeah, this thing is a fast car. In fact, let's do a 0 to 60 now, and I'll show you what I mean. So, it just goes to show Mercedes don't lie about their 0 to 60 times. They claim 4.5 seconds 0 to 60, and we did 4.46 seconds. And remember, that's without a 1-foot rollout. If we include a 1-foot rollout, it's 4.17 seconds. But I like talking about the true number on Paragon Cars. So yeah, it's quick. It's very quick. But it's the chassis that is just unreal. Obviously the E63 is very good, but for some reason this, it just feels zippier, snappier. The steering is so sharp. I can place the car exactly to the millimetre where I want it. The brakes feel overly capable for the powertrain, and the suspension, oh my god, the suspension. This thing just, it rides in a way that allows you to place the car on the road exactly where you want it. It is unreal how controllable this car is. Like, I just know exactly what's going on with it. And also, the sound is real. Those pops coming out the exhaust are actually coming out the exhaust, which is surprising. It genuinely sounds good. The intake noise is lovely as well, actually. But it really is just the chassis for me that is the best bit. The thing is, though, as good as the powertrain is and as good as the chassis is, I just think the powertrain, it's not really matched for an E-Class. The E-Class is known to be heavier, like more luxurious, and I think the V8 just really suits this car to a T. it's not that this car's bad, and in fact, if you want to save about 10-15 grand, if you want a like-for-like car, then this is a good choice still. It's still good, but in my mind, I'm just struggling to place it. Like, they need to come up with a different naming scheme. Like, if this was AMG Light, or I don't know, it needs to have a better name than that. But E53, to me, it's kind of in this grey area where it's kind of saying it's not a full-fat AMG. But I'm going to be honest with you, this is 100% as AMG as the E63 is. You're just missing out on that lovely V8 note, but it still sounds great. It's still absolutely rapid, and the chassis, oh my god, the chassis is proper AMG. It is lovely. But anyway, as always, if you enjoy this content, give us a like, and why not subscribe? As not only can you see more content like this, you will help us out massively with the YouTube algorithm. There'll be a link for this car down in the description below, as well as our generic website. But anyway, my name has been Tom, and you have been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.